Hey guys, welcome back to the Regal Gentleman YouTube channel. Today we are doing our post-lockdown transformation series, and our first one is Andras. How you doing, man?
Yeah, I'm good.
You good? Yeah, good, buddy. So, what are you thinking then?
Sort of want to keep the top, to be fair.
Yeah.
Play as much as you want.
Okay.
Want a bit of texture, maybe a bit of curl, or whatever you can do with it.
Yeah, definitely. So, when did you get it? Did you get it cut just before lockdown?
I think, yeah, probably just before, maybe a few weeks before lockdown it was.
Okay. So we've got a good three or 4 months growth here. Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, I think with yours, I think what would be quite nice, especially at the top, you've got such good thick hair. Like you quite, you've got no limit really to what you can do, because you could, you know, if you really like go away with this with like texture and stuff like that, it would be really easy for you to maintain. Yeah. But I think you can use a lot of different techniques to create a lot of movement in there. You can create a bit of curl in there. Okay. You create a little bit of loose bend in there as well. You know, if you want something that's really like bedhead messy. Yeah. But then you can also like change the product and wear it maybe a bit more conservative if you want to as well. So the good thing about your hair, you've got a lot of scope to what you can do with it. Okay. So I think the good thing would be is, yeah, I think if you keep some length through it. Yeah. At the minute, it's looking as though the fringe is a lot shorter than here. Yeah. So this is the longest point through the top here, okay? So what I think we could do is, I think you should wear it off your face. You've got a very strong hairline. I think if you wear this coming up on off your face would be good. I think if you wore it low down, it would kind of close your face in a little bit, especially if we're wearing masks and stuff now. So I think you've got to take into account, it is post-lockdown where, especially in the UK, I don't know if it's the same in other countries, but we have to wear masks on all our public transport. It's advised to wear them when you're going out shopping and stuff. So if you're wearing a haircut that's going to fall down on your face, you're going to just be left with like eyes. You know, you're not going to see. You know what I mean? You're not going to see your face shape and things like that. So I think wearing it up and off your face would be really good for you. You've got a few baby hairs here, which it looks as though maybe it was thinned out a little bit at the front last time, so that's why it's kind of dropping down. But I think if we kept the length here at the front, we use that as our kind of guideline through the top, and then we can match everything else to it. So we'll have it a bit more kind of a bit more uniform through the top here, but then we can break in with the razor and really texturize it quite heavily. You can get away with putting a lot of texture in your hair and it would still sit flat, it will still move around as well. I think back inside though, I think what would be quite nice, because you've got such dark hair, I think a contrast between the messy top and a very kind of short, sharp crispness around the edges. I think if we did maybe like a 2 on the back and side, and then we did maybe like a temple fade, so we just blended it right out into your beard, and then and the same on the neck. Would be quite nice, because in that way you've got the really sharp contrast here to then the loose messy texture through the top here as well, so you can leave some corner through here as well, and just make it really easy. But you've got something that looks fresh, but also you've got the messy element as well, so I think it might work in a bit of a contrast for you. All right, should we do that?
Yeah, definitely.
Sweet, awesome. Let's go for it. So I've just shampooed and conditioned Andrew's hair. Now what we're going to do is I'm going to start from the top and work down, okay? Because I want to start, my main focus is from the front. Now this is the shortest bit at the top, so I want to make that the longest bit at the top, because I think by him wearing it up and off his face, especially wearing masks and stuff at the moment, it'll really open out his face as well, and it'll really open out his face shape as well. Even though you only see the eyes, it'll really help, because you'll lift it up and off the forehead. So as we pick it up, bigger section, so just try and separate the fringe out like that. And as I pick this up, if I pull it forward, you'll see underneath if I pull that back, you'll see there's the fringe there. That's the shortest part. I want to make that the longest part today. So as you lift it up, bring it straight up and off the head. As I pull that back, there's the guide that's already in that I'm going to use. And as you can see, the hair above it. So if I pull that back, there's my guide. And there's the hair I want to take off, okay? I'm just going to point cut into this. And now that is the guide I'm going to use all the way to the back. So fingers straight up in the air, pull the hair through the comb, find the guide, and point cut.
I was trying to be more creative, I was trying to be lazy, but after that...
So as we lift it up, we're looking to keep that length at the front there, okay? So that's where we're working towards now, okay? So before, it was quite short, quite long, and then getting a bit short towards the crown. Now we're starting to level that off now. Now, anyone who's having any more length at the front, you always want to over-direct it. So when we talk about over-direction, we just mean pulling the hair from one side here away to the other side. So it's always nice to leave length in the recession point. And to be honest, you haven't got a recession point. I mean, well, everyone's got one, but you're definitely not losing your hair in the slightest, you know. But you always want to leave it a length in there, because it fills the whole front out. So when you're looking straight on, you've got this nice full fringe. If you pull it back, it might look like you're taking a lot of length off. but we're not actually taking this bit of the fringe, we're pulling it all the way back. So I'll take a section just behind it. Fingers are nice and straight. As I let that fall, we've kept that fringe level. If I'd have cut that shorter, that would have been like that. So that's why it's always nice to bring that back and then obviously detail the fringe at the end. We're working across this way now. So don't worry if you see more hair coming through, just find your guide and cut it.
Or from there, there's a lot of clientele here, but there was actually no supply. I think it's a bit more woody.
Oh, okay. If I bring this back, I'm cutting it to the recession point. Fingers are nice and straight, parallel to the other side. I cut that section through there like that. Because we've pulled all this over here, nothing's really being cut, it's just a section here that's being cut. As I pull it down again, it's still staying long. So the good thing about that as well, if you've got anyone with a receding hairline, by pulling it back to where the recession point is, within reason, it will keep the fringe long. So you won't be cutting the fringe at all. So if anyone is feeling a bit thinner through here, just pull it back to the highest point, cut it here, so it all still, as it pulls back, it blends in. That kind of thing, yeah.
I got against it, which is not too bad.
We are going to cut the fringe a little bit now, just to balance the fringe, and I'm going to cut the crown in, ready for the blending on the back and sides. So you might see some smaller, shorter bits and longer bits. I just want to make that a bit more even. Only minimal though. I think the good thing about this transformation series as well, personally, I think it's a great idea, because I think this is going to be an opportunity for you and the other guys we see today to just try something new and just get that little bit of advice on why that works. Now what I'm going to do, I'm just going to work through this crown now. I'm going to comb this out from the crown, take a section from just before the crown, I'm going to find the guide from before. So bring this across, and there's the guide from the sides that I cut before. I'm going to start to work this. Now what I'm going to start to do now, I'm going to work on this angle and drop it down. Now this is going to give me a nice little line where my Clipperwork is going to transition. That is done. I'm going to dry this off and we'll finish with the razor at the end, okay? So guys, I'm just going to spray a little bit of salt spray in there. But what this will do, this will set the base of me drying it through. So I'm going to start to dry it in the style that he's going to wear it. Obviously there's no texture in it, but I want to start drying this up at the front. I want to almost cut this into the style, okay? So I'm just using a small round brush and I'm working from the crown, okay? Just using this brush for now. Just wrapping it around the brush. Get to the front, slide it across, wrap it around the brush, and bring that up. Then again here, wrap it around. Make sure you wrap it up and get that nozzle right underneath to get them baby hairs there, or the short hairs to come up as well. Now if you think about it, when he came in, that bit behind the fringe is the highest point. Now that fringe looks much longer now, even though we haven't cut it, because the haircut behind it is now level with the front. So I think straight away you're starting to see that the style that we're going for now, where the fringe is up, but then we're going to create loads of texture through the back as well. Before, that was really long here. Now that is starting to sit a lot more level. So now we're moving on to our Clipperwork now. So I've got my number 2 guard on as well. 2.5 to start with. I'm going to start just here, because that's where my transition, if I lift that up, you'll see there's the shorter elements through there. See that there's the longer bits underneath, and there's the short bits. That's where I'm working to. Okay, so 2.5, put it in, flat against his head, and work up and off, like that. As you can see, even from the side, Liam, just from that point there, if I move that hair out of the way, we're going to work up and off. You look at that head shape we're going to keep in there. We're going to keep that length, we're going to match this length up, and that way we're going to still keep that nice squareness through the back. So we're going to give him some head shape at the back. And I'm going to move down to my 2 now, up into that 2.5. So elevating it right up, and then starting to get closer and closer towards the scalp until the comb just presses very gently against the scalp, and that'll be a 2.5, okay? Working up towards the top of the teeth. And turn the clipper around and just go over the little bits that could spike out a little bit as well. So guys, just working back now from the centre, working around to my right. So just clip that out the way, just because his hairline is very low. I don't want to compromise cutting into his into the front at all, so I'm trying to keep that out the way. So what we're nice to do now is just kind of add a little bit of a contrast by doing a very sharp fade from here, just on the sides and the neck. I think that way, when you've got that loads of movement, loads of texture going through the top, and you've got that really visually impressive fade on the sides, I think it just adds a nice contrast between the really texture and the messiness of the top. Okay. It's that really kind of crispness. I think it just looks, especially from a distance, it looks really cool as well. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to put my detailing in first. Now what this will do, this will help me sort of understand where I want the fade to start and how I can balance on both sides. So shape the temple area, shape around the ears, the neck, just doing mainly around the ears to this point here as well, just so I can keep that shape in there. There we go. I'm tapering these little edges of the hairline, just a bit easier to shape. And I think again, just cutting into the hairline a bit to give a really sharpness and crispness to the edging, be really good for this look. Again, you've got the contrast of the messiness, the texture on top. That really crispness around the sides, I think, is a really awesome look. Using my size 1 comb just to taper in. Get rid of any little longer hairs that the number 2 misses. Now I just put a little bit of detail in just around the side here. I'm going to put my 0 line in. I'm going to work up to there. Work my 0, my minis up into my 0. Shaver. I'm going to go over the bottom there as well. Working up to the same point, reference on both sides. Working up. Again, doing both sides first is just to make sure that symmetry is in there. Then open out into the half and flick out. So work through the lever now to get down to my 0. Just using the corner of the clipper, blend it down. Open, so 1.5. And work it up and off into that 2. Just working just through the temple area. Again, hence the temple fade. So you're just working through the temple area. I'm just going to work through the guard to get down to our 0.5. Half. One guard on. Straight down through that as well. Using the corner of the 1 guard as well, just to aim at the areas I want to blend. 0 line in, up to where I finish my lining out. A half in and just flicking out. The minis and just flick out across that line. The 1 guard now, same again, higher up, 1 off into the 2 now. Working through the lever again. I'm going to pop on my half guard and just go over the area through there, just using the corner. Okay, this will just perfect it a little bit more. There we go. So what we're going to do now, we're going to cut the crown in, and then we're going to texturise the top. Picking it up, see how it's going to fall, bringing it forward, so over-directing from the crown forward, see that little point, cut that in, bring it down to your blend, pull it straight out, there's your little point. We're not actually cutting across the crown, we're just pulling it every which way, but as you can see, it's still starting to line that nice and natural. There's a little point there as well, and cut that in. So now his crown is matched, it's not cut too short, you've kept head shape through the back. And what we'll do, we'll texturise it now as well. Deep point cutting. So we break this up. Front now.
What's the difference when you sort of texturise how you're doing and when people sort of go side to side?
Just breaks it up for you.
Okay.
Really. If you're slide cutting inside to side, usually I do that for somebody who's got slightly finer hair.
Okay.
Because it moves a bit more easier to one side. But with yours being short, choppy and textured, slide cutting doesn't really make too much of a difference. I think you want to maintain the sort of, you want to take away the internal thickness to help yours move around, you know what I mean? So by doing point cutting like this, it breaks the top up, it breaks the ends up, but it also cuts into the interior of the hair, so the thickness that you start to build up. But it starts to help you move it around a bit with that product as well, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Over the comb and just comes in, just in different parts. Just stagger it. And really break that up. So when you lift it up, it's like short, long, short, long. And that is it done. How's it looking?
It's looking nice, yeah.
Yeah, you happy, yeah? Awesome, mate. Let me just blast it through for you. We've already got the base in there of the salt spray. So that you can see that's going to start to give that hold. And then we'll finish off with a bit of the Regal Gentleman matte clay. Perfect for your hair, mate. Nice and dry. Just add a little bit of separation through there, a little bit of texture. There we go. So, do you see when we were talking about cutting at the top first and then bringing it all down and finishing around the bottom? What's nice about that is that you see it coming to life yourself. You know, you can sort of start to imagine the end goal, which I think is key really, is knowing what it'll look like when it's done. So you can always say, well, actually, maybe a little bit more off here, a little bit, you know, maybe add a bit more texture in or something like that. So I think it's quite nice sometimes doing it that way. So, work it through your hands, coat your hands, and start at the crown, okay? So work it in a circle against the way your crown grows, okay? Just to rub that in. And then working from the back to the front, rub it in like a shampoo, especially for someone with your hair texture. Get it right in there, because it'll just get lost in your hair because it's so thick. And then style how you want. The messier the better for you to really show off that texture. And I think keep it messy through the blend as well. So around here, kind of really put your fingers into it, kind of just pinch the sides. Because that way you'll see the messiness blend and then you'll see the fade. So it gives that really heavy contrast, you know. There we go, mate. How's that? Yeah? I'll show you the back. So that is the back.
Okay.
Faded right out on the sides as well. And you get that length through the top.
Yeah, that's really nice. I get what you also mean about the sort of the fade, the crispiness.
Yeah. It just makes it pop, doesn't it? You know what I mean? You see that real kind of heavy texture through here, so the real like, kind of contrast of the really sharp fade. Even though it's low, it doesn't have to be really high for this. I think sometimes when you are wearing your hair a bit messier, doing a really high fade ruins it sometimes. It just makes everyone go, wow, that's a fade, more than, wow, you've got like a fade, you've got a bit of messiness. You know what I mean? I think it adds a bit of a talking point for somebody as well.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Very happy with it.
Thank you, mate. So everyone looking for this style is, you want to go for like a temple fade, low fade on the neck. Whatever length you really want on the back and sides. I always do a 2, because especially on thick, dark hair like yours, it's quite a nice baseline to start from, like a base length, because you still see no scalp exposure, so the fade pops more. And then through the top, it was more aimed, this was more bespoke to you really, more than something to ask for. I mean, on a whole, as a general haircut, it's basically like, say, a couple of inches on top, loads of texture through it, mainly the front being the longest point, getting a touch shorter through the apex and the crown as well, but still maintaining crown in there, so a bit more length through there. And then just loads of just very deep point cutting texture. It's good for your look because because it's so thick. A razor would work on yours, but I thought this would be quite a nice different way of doing it, because you visually point and just kind of just almost hack into the hair, obviously with understanding, but you're basically just cutting big kind of loads of weight out of there just to help it move around and stay up as well. So essentially temple fade, low fade on the neck, and then just going to be a couple of inches on top, front being a bit longer, and then just a lot of texture, especially if it's thick. If you've got finer hair, stay a little bit less on the texture. Essentially that's it. All right? Thanks, man. Thank you very much.
What sort of product do you just use?
I use the Regal Gentleman Matte Clay, so it's a completely dry clay. So what are you thinking then, mate? What's the plan?
I'm sort of giving you a bit of free reign, really, just to see
Okay.
what you think. That's sort of one of the reasons why I wanted to come.
Okay. Yeah.
Just because I've had so many hairstyles, I've had it long, like really long, medium length, quite short.
Okay.